We're back with Bunky, and we're back on the Adepts. Let's take a look at the Krogan Shaman. If I remember correctly, this was the first individual character we had from the Retaliation DLC. When it first came out, we got 4 characters, and then they started releasing them one a week. I believe this is the first one. Got 2 builds for the guy. I'll give them to you now. I like to rock the melee build. This is how I build it. For barrier, for the first evolution, I go with barrier strength, then I go with power synergy, and then I go with more barrier strength, so we've got a nice 40% damage reduction. So it's going to make all our other biotic powers a lot stronger when it's on, and it should always be on. Warp, I just take this up to rank 4 and get detonate. And Shockwave, I get this up to detonate as well in the 5th evolution. Go with Radius for the 4th though, and then get the detonate evolution. Because Dom let me know about this actually. I thought that the detonate evolutions only kind of came into play when you were detonating with that power. So I figured I would only ever be detonating with Shockwave. I would never be detonating with Warp. But no, Dom's apparently looked it up. If you got both detonate evolutions, the detonation gets even stronger again. So that's what I recommend for the guy, because it is nice to have some biotic explosions backing up your fist. Trust me. But no, for the Krogan Berserker, just get yourself with damaging capacity and power damage, because we are still a power build. And then for Rage, it's very much like the Krogan Soldier. You just want to go with Durability, Martial Artist, and Pure Rage then for some nice melee damage. The other one's a weapons build, okay, like a weapons platform. I'd probably recommend that you go exactly the same with barrier. So you want barrier strength, power synergy, and barrier strength again. Although you could go with shield recharge. I could help you tank a little harder. You could do that with a melee build, to be honest, guys, but I prefer the power synergy. For Warp, you'll actually want to fully build this out for the weapons build, okay, guys? You'd want Detonate, Expose, and then Pierce, okay, so you can really just take that armor down. For Shockwave, you can either completely spec out of this, sorry, I got this all wrong actually. If you were going to have Shockwave like I'm going to tell you now, you wouldn't be able to get that last evolution of barrier. You'd only actually have a 30% damage reduction, which is why the shield recharge might be even more helpful, because you probably would. I'd still recommend going with Radius and Detonate on your Shockwave, so that, you know, you're supporting biotic explosions are pretty good, but you could just spec out of Shockwave altogether and just weaken the armor with Warp and gun them down, and you know, that way you're just a tank that does a lot of weapon damage. But right now I'm showing you a way to sort of do a lot of weapon damage with some biotic explosions for support. So, you know, for Krogan Berserker, you'll definitely want weapon damage. Go with power damage, because you're still using a power, and then with more weapon damage. And then for Rage, it would be all fitness, unless you did spec into Shockwave. You wouldn't be able to get shield recharge or fitness expert. You'd only be able to get durability. You'd still have something. You still have very impressive health. Okay, you'd still have the health you got me with now. Okay, you'd have what was that? 1,550 health and barriers still, and a 30% damage reduction with barrier. So you can tank pretty hard and have the biotic explosions. But if you want, you can tank incredibly hard and just weaken armor. Okay, so there's technically 3 builds there, but basically what I'm trying to drill in is you can melee or you can shoot weapons with this guy. The weapon I'm going to be rocking for my melee build is going to be the Piranha. It's a nice light shotgun, it goes through armor nicely, you know, all that kind of good stuff, fully automatic, so it's going to be good for helping me prime other explosions. Get into that in a second. I'm going to be rocking the Shredder mod, so I can actually do some piercing. And then rocking with the Omni Blade as well, okay? So then, you know, I got the 50% increase to melee damage, which is always nice. This is why it's always good to have a shotgun on your melee builds, because that's the highest, you know, melee mod in the game. For the equipment, I'm going to be rocking Incendiary ammo, because now, basically, when I'm taking on the bosses and it's not too you know, clever to go up and punch them, I can start gunning them and setting up them for a fire explosion and mixing them in with my biotic explosions, so we really do get to take down armor quite quickly. The armor bonus is going to be a Cyclonic Modulator 4, because I am going to tank with this guy. I'm going to be up in the enemy's face, so that's always a good idea. And to top that off, I'm going to be taking the Juggernaut Shield then, so I've got the melee strength and the extra shield strength again. And then obviously the weapon bonus is going to be a strength enhancer. I only used strength enhancer 2 for the gameplay. I unlocked a bunch of, well, I say a bunch, 3, as you can see. I unlocked 3 strength enhancer 3s after I completed this video. Like the store loves to troll me, but enough of that. Let's just jump into the gameplay. Alright then, here we go. It's me and Dom with 2 pugs. Me and Dom are going Krogan melee together. We're going to just go around smashing up the place in this gameplay. Although, I'll be honest with you, it was hard to get excited about this character. I mean, if you look at his powers, offensively, he has Shockwave and Warp, which is an underwhelming combination. I mean, an extremely efficient detonator with an inefficient primer. Bombs are always going to be slow and sparse in number. They might be strong, because Warp is a great primer for biotic explosions, but you can only prime one enemy at a time, whereas, you know, Shockwave has the potential to explode loads of, you know, just detonate a load of combos. So, you know, he really wasn't going to be great for biotic explosions. He never was going to be. And what you also need to realise is, before Singularity had its big facelift, they just completely reworked how Singularity works in the game. This is basically what people had with the human Adept, you know, just a Warp and Shockwave. So it was really disappointing to see a character from the 4th DLC doing exactly the same thing as one of the base characters. Yeah, so... But then he has got Barrier for some nice damage reduction, so he's actually more like the base human Sentinel that we've got right now. This is why it was like, you know, we all got a glimpse of what characters were coming out when Retaliation first came out. We all spotted the Krogan Shaman, and I don't think he got many people excited, I'll be perfectly honest. But it's not his moveset that's nice about this character, okay? The important difference is that he's a Krogan. This means we have a sturdy tank in the Adept class with a rocking melee, okay? So the Krogans are best at being weapons, platforms and melee builds, because they're sturdy and they hold their ground well, and they dish out as much damage as they can take. So you have those 2 choices with biotic bombs for support with this character, you know, which isn't bad. The melee build is fun, plays like a biotic version of my Krogan soldier, as you can see. Literally, the only difference, because with my Krogan soldier, I carnage everything to line up the shot so I can do the Krogan charge heavy melee. It's quite easy to miss. It really is. You do want to sort of like you know, stagger the enemy before you knock them down. The way I approach it is, if the enemy has shields, I will shockwave them. That will stagger everything with shields, and then you just go up and you knock them down. But if they haven't got shields, if you hit them with shockwave, they're going to fall on the ground, and that's going to mess up your melee attacks. You actually hit those non-shielded enemies. There's only a few of them with Warp, and then that will stagger them, and then you go ahead and smack them. The non-shielded enemies aren't very good at avoiding either, so you can normally, like, you can quite easily get a warp out on your cannibals and your stuff. Even like the Geth troopers and stuff, they're not the most efficient dodgers of the Geth faction, and they're quite good at dodging. Same with Cerberus. Then I got, you know, with the bosses and stuff. The bosses are still going to get a slap, as you can see there, but because they're dangerous and you don't want to be getting yourself sync killed or anything, this is when you start rocking the biotic explosions, okay? I'll hit them with Warp, then I'll start shooting them until Shockwave's ready to go, and then I'll throw Shockwave at them. That gets the biotic explosion. I'll also get a fire explosion off as well. In fact, I can start laying in some bullets before I hit with Warp, get the fire explosion first, you know, and then get the biotic explosions shortly after. So, you know, you can take it, so you can keep your distance and work some nice damage out, and then everything else you can just slap around proper Krogan style. The weapons build, however, is more ideal for Platinum, okay, because it's not a... Well, it can be. It really does depend on the gun you put on him, but, you know, because there's a lot of armour in Platinum, you want to take a nice armour-chewing gun, and that would make you less effective at killing mooks, to be perfectly honest. So that would be less efficient in gold, but, you know, just great for Platinum. Because you got to remember, you got Warp on this guy, so you can stick Warp ammo on your gun. You will take down a lot of armour with this, you know, on this character with that. Let me give you some weapon choices, though, okay? Obviously, for my melee build, I'm rocking the piranha. You want something lightweight. You want a lightweight shotgun, as I said. So you can go with the wraith as well. That does a lot of nice damage. Even the disciple, that's a paperweight. And basically, you can just slap on the omni blade and have maximum recharge speed. I'd only recommend that for gold, because the disciple does pitiful damage. You'd be better off using a talon, to be honest, with the melee stunner. You know, the pistol melee stunner. It's only a 25% increase in melee, but you'll be doing a damn sight more weapon damage then. If you wanted to go with a weapons platform, you know, this is more platinum orientated, I'll be honest with you guys. You can go with the Riga. Okay, the Riga does a ton of damage. And you know, if you saw my Krogan Vanguard video, even things like the Praetorians, you can keep a safe distance while still rocking the Riga. The Claymore, of course. The Hurricane is going to be amazing because you just warp and shoot them. If you've seen the Fury video, you see how quickly that will take them down. It's 100% damage increase, okay, when you're rocking warp rounds 4 on a gun. So you've on a character you've warped, sorry, or set up for a biotic explosion, so they will go down real quick. In the same respect, you go with a particle rifle, okay, because that streams out bullets in exactly the same speed, essentially. And then obviously you can just go with a nice assault rifle that hits hard, like the Harrier or the Lancer. In fact, the Typhoon would be incredible for this guy. You know, this with warp rounds, yeah, you'll take down armor real quick. You know, you're sturdy, you're tanky, you know, you're a weapons platform. You'll be able to stand there and just drill into the enemy. The equipment, obviously, I'm rocking the Incendiary for this, so I can get off the 2 explosions. Warp is obviously, as I've made quite clear, would be your second choice, okay, so you can just do some nice damage with your gun because you're warping everything, you know, especially if you're going with a weapons platform build. Cryo would be like your other choice, so you can get some cryo explosions, but you know, they're quite unreliable to get. The armor bonus, Cyclonic, because you can see, guys, I'm tanky as hell. The enemy are having a hell of a time even getting my health remotely close to down. So yeah, the Cyclonic Falls are great. Adrenaline, if you want some more survivability, you can you know, move around quicker, get yourself out of nasty situations with the adrenaline mod. You might be even better off with like the power efficiency, so you can obviously get your bombs going a bit more, or you can stagger more enemies so you can get your warps out more. It would especially be great for the weapons platform if you are rocking something like the Typhoon, which is immensely heavy, so you can actually warp the enemies before you start shooting them. And you know, then you can take the power amplifier as well, so you know, you can hit harder with warp and shockwave. It's not the most ideal choice because they don't do a lot of damage. They're mainly about the explosions, to be honest, guys. Which, as I've said time and time again, don't get stronger from power increase bonuses. We've got a Bwnci just hiding up here now, and this is what I mean. We've still got some nice range with this character, so she can hide all she likes. I mean, the other armor bonus you actually could take is the stabilization module. Okay, that'd be great for the Typhoon, for instance. The gear is obviously the Juggernaut Shield, which you saw. There's plenty of great melee choices for you, though, guys. There's like the Martial Biotic would genuinely work great for this guy. The Berserker package, that's shotgun and melee. Hydraulic Joints is just a lot of melee. I mean, if you went with the Talon, with the pistol melee stun, you could go with the Commando package as well. So you've got the pistol and biotic thing. But you know, if you were going with a weapons build, you just want to go with a weapon amp, guys. Just, you know, so you just do maximum weapon damage. I mean, the barrage upgrade would be okay for the Typhoon, so you've got the stability there. So you could actually take the Cyclonic Modulator for your armor bonus and be tankier, and then you still got more you've got more control of the Typhoon because that thing just kicks and waves all over the place. It really does, and it also increases the capacity because with ramp up guns, as I talked about within the Vola Sentinel video, you really want to be shooting in full ramp up mode as much as you can. So the thermal clip storage would actually be another decent choice as well, which increases your clip size and not the amount of thermal clip packs you can carry. I'm sorry about that, I've made that mistake in the past a couple of times. It increases your clip size of your gun, so that's good for the Typhoon as well. And the particle rifle. Structural ergonomics as well, another gear bonus, so you can obviously get the recharge speed. You've got your shield options, guys. You can take any of the shield gears so you can just tank better. And then obviously for your weapon bonus, you want the Strength Enhancer for the melee build, or you know, the appropriate weapon rail amp for the weapons build. I mean, I even though you're watching me rock the melee build, I am talk too much about what's going on in the gameplay. It's very similar to the it is a biotic version of my Krogan soldier. It's still fun for the same reasons and all that kind of stuff, and it's effective and all that. But I've talked a lot about the weapons platform because that's what we are. Okay, so we're a Krogan. You got those two choices. This is the way to rock them. If you did go with the weapons build, I would actually recommend you trying out the Typhoon with him. It's not a gun I like, to be perfectly honest, but it's got some really great potential on this character. Because he's a Krogan, he can take a hit. And he can only be staggered from behind. He needs to be attacked from behind to get staggered. Anything that's up in front of him, he will just stand there and take it. So, that's really going to help. It's going to give you a great opportunity to keep the gun ramped up like you have to. Plus, warp and warp rounds, as I said, do so much damage to armor. And Typhoon does as well. It does like 150% damage to every single health bar in the game. So you will really great for platinum. You'll take down a lot of armor with this, with that combination. It's a tricky gun though, which is why I don't particularly like it. Apart from all the kick and shit on it, it is tricky to really get it to work. Much like the Prothean particle rifle, it needs to ramp up and stay ramped up. Although it's much faster at it than the particle rifle is. It does ramp up pretty quick in comparison, but it also streams out bullets like an SMG. It's got a really incredible rate of fire, especially when it is ramped up. So you do want to stack up on how you ignore armor mitigation to actually do the right damage with the gun. Normally, I'd recommend the high velocity barrel. So you got the whole 90% ignoring armor with the piercing instead of the. But we're working in Adept. Okay, this is the Krogan Adept. So your focus should be armor weakening and not armor piercing. There is a difference. And it's an important difference, which I'm sure a lot of people don't actually realise, okay? Because armour weakening and armour piercing do not stack. You'll see it in the description of powers and equipment, okay, and mods. They'll say they either do armour weakening or armour piercing. Basically, you can't take 50% of armour weakening and 50% of armour piercing and ignore armour by 100%. That's just not how it works. I'm going to try and, give you an idea of what I'm trying to explain here. In gold, right, armour reduces all damage by 50 points. So, you make a shot and 50%, and whatever number of damage that shot does, 50 will be taken off it. So, but if you hit armor with warp, you weaken it by 25%. So what you've done then is that you've made armor reduce damage by 37.5 instead of 50. That's what you've done by weakening it by 25%. The piercing mod on guns, however, ignores or pierces 65% of armor's damage reduction. However. That's how that works. So basically, you can weaken it by 25% with warp, or you can ignore it by 60% or by 65% with a piercing mod. However, if you were working these together, thanks to warp, you would now only be ignoring 65% of 37.5 instead of 65% of 50. Hope you can follow. So if there was no warp in the equation, I'd shoot my gun with a piercing mod on, and I would ignore 65% of the 50 reduction. But if I've warped the target first and reduced the damage reduction to 37.5, I'm only going to be ignoring 65% of 37.5. So essentially, my piercing becomes smaller because I've weakened the target. And, in this situation, then I'd recommend that you rock something like Warp Rounds 4, which weakens armor again by an additional 65%. So, if we got Warp and Warp Rounds 4, armor is now weakened by 90%. So basically, 90% of, if you take 90% off of 50, that means that armor is actually only reducing damage by 5. Okay, that's, you lose 5 damage points for every shot, which means your piercing mod will actually only end up ignoring 65% of 5, which, if you want me to do the math for you, is 1.75. Okay, that's pointless. It's basically that piercing mod becomes pointless. You'll be better off going with like an extended barrel, so you're just doing more damage. This is the number for you. Okay, you can rock the piercing mod do if let's look at the Harry. Okay, I'm going to bring up a little source material here. It's a little spreadsheet I've got that shows you like all the different damage things. I think I'll post it in the video description so you can all have a look. By a guy on the forums. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher your username now. It's something like Sione or Sycone or something like that. He does a lot of this. I've spotted his name a lot. He does a lot of getting the numbers for everybody to work with on the forums. I can put that in there, and thanks to you guys, big credit to you. But no, this is it. Okay, I'm looking at the Harrier. A single shot of the Harrier, at a minimum, does around 129.5 damage per shot. That's not damage per second. That's one bullet from the Harrier does that much damage. And with the armor would reduce that to 126.25 per shot because of warp and warp rounds and stuff like that. So that's only the only damage we'd be doing. Was that clear? I'll try. Let me try and because I lost myself in there. So if you had the piercing mod on with the warp ammo and with warp and warp rounds for, okay, you would normally be doing 129.5 damage, but with the armor reduction, we're only going to be doing 126.25. However, if we replace the piercing mod and just went with the extended barrel, which would increase the damage we do per shot to around 875, thank you calculator, damage per shot, and we'd still be reducing armor by 90%, we'd actually end up doing 156.875, because there would only be a 5 reduction to the armor and stuff like that. So basically let me sum it up. With the piercing mod on, with the warp and the warp rounds, you'd be doing 126 damage. With an extended barrel with warp and warp rounds, you're actually doing 156 damage. So that's per shot. And obviously the Harrier can stream out bullets and stuff like that. So you'll generally end up getting out a lot more damage if you just focused on weakening and not piling on piercing. So in short, you're better off stacking armor weakening or armor piercing and not both, because weakening will always make your piercing less effective. Because you will only able to pierce what armor's available. So if you've weakened that armor, you're just doing less piercing. I hope that was clear. I generally try to avoid, throwing math into these commentaries because, well, generally it's hard to follow without, looking at it, and and what you need to say, as far as numbers don't lie, guys, and, it's a game, it's all programming, the numbers are always going to be in play, but you will always find that in practice, it's always a very different game. I'm stuck in the Bwnci for some reason there. It is, because the variables that I just gave you is in a perfect scenario where everything's in place and you make your shot and these are the numbers. But you got to remember, enemy movement reduces damage, accuracy reduces damage, there's all these different effects. There's so much that happens in the game. The numbers will never be that straightforward, but it gives you a general idea. What I'm telling you is, like, if you wanted to rock the Typhoon on this guy, don't go with the high velocity barrel, go with the extended barrel, you'll end up doing more damage. If you are doing the Typhoon on a destroyer, for instance, who does not have warp, you'd be better off going with armor piercing rounds and the high velocity barrel, because then you'd just be ignoring all armor and just getting out a crap ton of damage that way. But because we're on an Adept here, we've got the potential to just ignore. Oh no, sorry, no. We got the potential to weaken armor by so much that you're wasting your time by trying to pierce it. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Hopefully, it was easier to hear than it was to say. But that's all you need to know, guys. They don't stack. So make sure you take note to what you're piling on. As far as taking down armor targets, and that's more important in platinum than anything else. I mean, in gold, armor comes along, especially if you're dealing with the Reapers and Collectors. There's quite a bit of armor to get through, but armor comes along, you take it down. But in platinum, there's just so much armor. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't just cut out the middleman and get rid of every other enemy but bosses and just let platinum be a boss run. To be perfectly honest, it's just You gotta be smart about how you're dealing with the armor, and that's what you need to take into consideration, guys. Whether you're doing weakening or piercing. But as you can see here, me and Dom are just wrecking up the place, just literally just smashing them about. It's always more satisfying to melee things as a Krogan. I mean, that's anybody who's followed the storyline knows that the Krogans love to be hands-on and smash stuff around. And this gives you the opportunity to be that type of Krogan. One thing you've always got, I've mentioned it before, but you've always got to be aware of it. I still go for it anyway, you've got nothing to lose, apart from with phantoms, okay? When characters who've got those power blocking barriers, like the Bwncis, the phantoms, and the Praetorians, you have to remember that that blocks melee damage as well. It's stupid, I don't know why it does, but that's the reality, okay? You probably, in all reality, you're better off if you see those characters put up a barrier, just shoot them, because you can't punch them, and you can't fling powers at them. I'm going to do the Krogan duty of just headbutting to victory with the object here, because you get around fast doing it this way, you really do. Krogans are amazing for this objective, because the lunge in their light melee attack means they just literally slide to victory. Look at him. So yeah, this is going to be wave 10 objective done real quick, and then we're just going to finish up wave 10 here and jump straight into extraction. It was around wave 8. I was there going to Dom's going, I'm going for a perfect game here. I'm definitely going for a perfect game here. He's going, oh, you're gonna, and he was like, oh, so you're going to be a bit more cautious now. I go, no, hell no, I'm not going to be cautious, but I'm going for the perfect game here, and yeah. Not going to end up like that. Cautious in that I'm not going to do anything stupid, but I'm not holding back. I'm still going to start smacking stuff around. Oh, good old D-pad. Try to use a thermal clip and you bring out your rockets. See now, Dom got his hands on one of the newer Xbox 360 pads where you could actually like twist the D-pad and it would like make it rise, so it was clearer. It was easier to press the buttons or something like that. It's something they think they developed for like the fighting game community, because it does have the Xbox 360 pad is a crap D-pad. It really does. And he said he basically didn't have any trouble with me bringing out the wrong consumables during the game, but that broke on him, and now he's back to the old 360 pad. And now he's saying he gets the same problem as me. He tries to use it. He tries to use pretty much any fucking consumable, and the character will always bring out the rockets. Although I'm generally curious at this point. Do you guys get this problem, or is my pad just fucking broken? Because I've got 3 Xbox 360 pads, and they all do it to me. I've tried every single one of them, and every time I try to use any of my consumables, my character frequently brings out like the rockets and gets me killed, because obviously I don't want to use my rockets. I got to switch back to my weapon, and this whole time I'm just stood there vulnerable. It slows you down because you can't run when you're changing weapon. So it frequently messes me up, and I just want to know: do a lot of people have this problem, or should they just invest in a new pad here? Because it's annoying. It's very annoying, especially when I'm in I'm going for perfect game mode here. I do love this map though. I like this hazard map. A lot of people don't, because the swarms come and ruin their day. But I like it. It does put pressure on you. It does make some of the objectives really tight, especially when you got an upload and that thing conveniently sits in the upload with you when you're just getting bombarded from all angles. I like it. I like the harder hazard maps. I like this and Ghost or the Acid Rain. They're my favourites. But here we go, we got 3 seconds on the clock. Dom is down, but he's getting back up, because one thing you must know: Krogans always extract. Alright guys, but yeah, that was a good game. I had a lot of fun with that one. I have a lot of fun with Krogans in general, and basically this is like it's just another Krogan, but with biotic powers. That is the Krogan Shaman, guys. It's a crap Adept, but it's a cool Krogan. But there you go. I've got nothing else for you. I'm going to just take off now. I'll leave you with a scoreboard. Please comment, rate and subscribe. I'll keep the videos coming as I always do, guys. I do appreciate the support very much. Take care of yourselves now.